You're watching part 2 of the Photo Tips podcast, where we show you the different ways for shooting the moon. Stay tuned at the end of the podcast to learn how you can see the complete show in its entirety. Now, that is one way of doing it, but there's another and a better and more accurate way to get this done, and that is by going to full manual mode. But here's how we're going to go about that. What I want you to do first is to go into aperture priority mode. I know I told you we're going to do this in full manual. Just bear with me. We're going to get there. Just trust me. I want you to go to aperture priority mode and dial in an aperture value of f7. At f7, you're starting to get really close to the sweet spot of the lens for being as sharp as it can be. Yes, there's a sweet spot to the lens, and I'll explain that in a future podcast. Don't get sidetracked on me. Just dial in f7. Now, switch to the center AF point. Again, if you're not really sure what I just said, you need to look in your owner's manual on AF points or autofocus points, and we want to dial in the center one. So when you figure that out, dial in the center AF point. Now go and change your ISO to be between ISO of 100 and ISO 400. Now this will ensure noise does not begin to show up in the darker areas. Now aim at the moon and zoom in as far as you can with your lens if you're using a zoom lens. Press the shutter release halfway down until the focus locks and hold. Do not finish pushing the button all the way down and take the picture. Just hold it halfway down. Now what I want you to do is look at the bottom of the viewfinder. It should look something like this. Pay close attention to what those numbers say. In this case, it says that a shutter speed of 1/200th of a second is what the camera thinks should match our aperture value of f7 in order to get a proper exposure. But we already know the camera is going to get this wrong, right? So here's what we do next. We throw the camera into manual mode. We dial in the same aperture value of f7. But now we're going to increase the shutter speed by 2 full stops over what it just told us. 1 full stop would be double what that first number was. And since we're pretending that the shutter speed it said was 1/200th of a second, 1 full stop would be double that, or 1/400th of a second. Double that, and we go another full stop, and now we're at 1/800th of a second. See how that works? Take the picture. You should see a huge improvement right off the bat. If you're not happy though, you can make adjustments and fine-tune it in. If the image is still too bright, just dial in a faster shutter speed until you're happy. If it's too dark, slow the shutter speed down until you're happy. That's it. That's all there is to it. Oh, wait, one more thing. I lied, sorry. There is another important thing you should consider. Since most of you listening to this have not progressed to the point that you own a 400 millimeter, 500 millimeter, 600 millimeter telephoto lens, you'll need to make the moon appear to be as close to you as you can when you take the picture. If it's high in the sky, it'll look too far away. If you can catch the moon as it first comes up over the horizon, it will appear to be closer. Okay, now we're done. Now I hope that clears some stuff up for you. Like I said, it could be confusing at first, but hopefully now you'll take an image that looks like this and turn it into something that looks like this. I get a number of questions about people a little confused on how they can get iTunes onto their computer, how they can watch the whole podcast. So I thought I would create some video instructions to show you how to make that happen. The first thing you need to do is go to apple.com, www.apple.com. Once there, you will simply click on the Downloads button located at the top of the screen. You will quickly see a version of iTunes, usually located at the top. Simply click on the Download button. On the next screen is where we actually start the download process, but before you do that, you need to choose your operating system. Windows XP or Vista is usually checked off for you, so if you're using XP or Vista, just leave that one alone. But you see 2 little check marks prompting you that if you leave these checked, apple.com will be sending you email often. I would suggest that you uncheck those. Also, you'll see a place for email address. You don't have to worry about that. Just simply click the Download Now button and start the download process. You're usually presented with an option to save. I'm using Google Chrome. It's giving me the option to save. I'm going to choose Save, and it will begin that download process. Now once you have downloaded and installed iTunes, when iTunes is running, over on the left hand side you'll see this link. It says iTunes Store. Simply click on it. Then, up at the top right-hand corner, you'll see the Search iTunes Store field. Simply type in Photo Tips, one word, and begin the search. You'll find a range of options that fall into that search term, but one of those is my podcast. You'll see it, Photo Tips, Photography Tips by BC Photo. Simply click on that. On the very next screen, you'll be given a description, and you'll also see a button that says subscribe. Click on the subscribe button, and then answer the question, are you sure you want to subscribe to it or not? And you just simply say subscribe. Next, there's one other thing that you're going to want to do. Up at the top left-hand corner, you'll see a range of options, all your music, your movies, your TV shows, and you'll see a link that says podcast. Go ahead and click on that. Then, down at the bottom, you'll see a section that says settings. Click on it. Then it wants to know, how often do you want to check for a new podcast? I have mine default set for every hour, but you can choose every day, every week, or manually. So you'll choose when it will check to see when a new podcast is available. Like I said, I have mine set for every hour, and I plan on having all these podcasts up by the middle of the afternoon on Friday. So if you just check on late Friday or Saturday, you'll see a new episode appear for the latest episode of the Photo Tips podcast. That's it. That's all you have to do. It'll download, and once you've downloaded, all you have to do is click on the podcast, and you can watch it directly within iTunes, just like this. 3, 2, 1.
Dad, teach me how to use your camera.
And that's all there is to it.